So after using the ink, the miniature is very wet. So I took my airbrush and dried it a little out. You also can take a hairdryer or something. I think if you take a hairdryer, the ink is a little more glossy. In this case, the ink also stays a little glossy at the beginning, and that's not a problem. As I mentioned before, this ink, I don't know if every ink is this way. I just found it on this because it's the first ink I used. And I think it's a happy little mistake. So, because if you use this ink, you will see that you can blend in the colors for the skin tones. Yeah, like some days long. You can put the miniature down, pick it up the next day, and with the color and wetness of the color, it's like it's reactivating. I don't know if it's with every ink. I just bought some new inks to try it on some different colors. And now, as you can see in the video, I used some skin tone. On the palette it's much lighter, and you can see now here it's becoming darker on the miniature. And it's like you're doing a wet blending over and over again. You just use new color, and if it's drying on the miniature, it settles down a little bit in the tone and gets more reddish. But if you take some more thin layers, it will build up. But in the process of building up, it's also flowing together. So you really don't have to overthink it, and you can paint really fast. For this miniature, I took some more time than I usually do on them. I tried I think 4 now. I have to count them. And I normally did the whole miniature. I do to then in 45 minutes to 1 hour or 1 hour and a half. Depends on what details I'm blocking out. On this miniature, I thought I will do the whole miniature, or nearly the whole miniature, and just a normal aching pain looking skin tone, because it was recommended to do it. Nearly everybody wanted to see how to do the skin tone, and it's really easy. It's not so easy with a camera for me because it's the first time I do it from above, and the head placement is kind of weird. So the distance to the head was not my normal distance. Yeah, but as you can see, I just don't use a really good brush. I just use the normal synthetic hair brush. Yeah, I bought some more to test more on them. And you really don't need any good brushes or something. Just slop the paint on, as you can see, not with high detail grade or something. Just get the paint done. And as you see, I open this picture now. The color is already drying and desaturating a little more, so you can redo the points you want to highlight. Yeah, and that's the main process of this. So you always paint the same areas again and again until you think it looks good for the basement. But you can treat it as many times as you want, and if you think it's too bright or it's not the color you want, you can go back with the ink and get the tone down again. And you also can mix it up with other skin tones. I'll do this in this video. As you can see on the wet palette, there are 3 different skin tones. One green color, I think it's also yellow olive, as I remember, and some white. White is one of the most important parts in this kind of painting. So now you can see I take a little higher, so really slopping it on, wet and wet, and it's coming together so easy. It's much easier than normal wet blending, I think. It's very fast. You don't really need an airbrush. You can use an airbrush. I tried it once, but normally I focus on brushes at the moment because I want to test it out. But I think when you have an airbrush, it's a very interesting part to use it. I want to do it in the next time for the next plate bearers. so I can see how this works, because if you paint some with the airbrush on it, it's the same effect, but you are starting, as you know, with a much smoother consistency, and you're blending much easier with an airbrush than with a brush on this. But like I said, I want to do it because of the tutorial with a brush, and for me to practice and discover some things for me. I think it's better to do a tutorial first when you can do it with a brush, because not everybody has an airbrush. So I think it's a good starting point, but for this it's just an experience journey now to see what can be done with this effect. As you can see, I really don't overthink everything. I just slop it on where the light hits. What's looking above becomes more paint. The other parts are not so beloved from the brush here. Yeah, with every stroke you can see the color is blending together, but it's also changing. As you can see here, we just keep highlighting, and then we make a little flip to another stage, because you only just do it over and over again until it looks like this. You can see the arms become 1 or 2 coat, the other parts even 5 or 6. And then you can start to block in the highlights with white. And the white is one of the most important things on this kind of scheme, because also the white will reactivate the ink and gets like a little pinkish tone. Yeah, pinkish white, whitish pinkish. Yeah, it looks kind of thick in nature, I would say. It's not a normal pink skin tone. With this ink, with this kind of ink, it starts to looking some kind of thick. Even if you take the skin tone in the back there, I think it is, let me guess, it's normal skin tone from Model Air, and it's very bright, but in combination with the ink, it becomes a little, like a yellowish tone on it, and it looks really thick on some places. I like to do it on the butt cheeks. In this moment I do it with a white to highlight them, but if you hit them again with some of the skin tone, it becomes just richer. It looks more natural, I would say. So this is the case where you start to do the white, and also as with the normal skin tone on this ink, you just to redo it. Now you can see I took some skin tone again and not hit the most highlight area, just a little below on it, so you have the whitish highlight in the end. If you paint the belly, you also have to remember that this is in the shadow area, so you can see the shadow is darker, so I would do it also in the painter. So you take some other colors in the end to do it, to blot it out. For this I highlight the arm again a little bit and the fingers, so just repeating. It's all just repeating. And if you do it really fast, it's no problem, because the color will reactivate all the time. So it's like wet blending extra fast, and you don't have to overthink it, because it's like nearly every brush stroke with back and forth becomes a very good blend. It's just for beginners. I think it's a very good thing. Or if you batch paint or want a large army with a different kind of paint scheme, it's perfect. It's so easy, it's so fast, and the results are very good for that. So I think it's like a new technique, because I have never seen something like this before with reactivating. For me, I called it reactive wet blending, because I can lay down the mini, as I said in the beginning, put it down for 1 or 2 days, and if I pick it up, the ink will still reactivate with the color. So we can go further and further and don't need to overthink. Just sometimes you need to wash out your brush and start again. So from here on now we're speeding up 6.0, so we don't need to watch it all the time, because as I said, it's just repeating. You don't need to overthink, just look what's coming out good for you. Some raised areas with some brighter colors. You also can do on these steps to think about how would it look with a violet or with some bluish tones, with some green, whatever you want to like, what you think will look good. So in the end it looks like this on this step. So as you can see, I speed the video again up. Now we're working on some shadows and some interesting points. I think it's important to not be only flashy. So I started to pick out some green edges, and it's the same technique. You go up and forth, down, up, side, left, right, underneath, everything you want. So the color can mix together. It's the same process. So the reddish intone will reactivate, and you will see it blends together very nice and very easy. I take some Imperial Blue from Game Color, I think it was Game Color, and pick out some deeper areas to let it look like bruises, and it's like aching skin, and it's hurt flesh or whatever it's called. I also took some good pink color. In this case, it is Warlord Purple from Game Air. It's very thinned down, so it's easy to applicate on it. This color doesn't mix so deep in because we have so many layers now of normal color. So it also reactivates the ink, but not so hard as before. So in this case, I took some beige tone. I don't know what. I think it's Ushabti bone from Games Workshop, because I thought I will pick out the round boils to be some eyes. Most of my models will have more eyes because I think it looks creepy and also funny and puts out the Nurgle theme very good. Many people say it's more Zinch-like, but I like some eyes on my Nurglings. So I think it looks very cool and interesting and has some great focal points even on this miniature, because the belly is the biggest part on it, and you really can put it out. And on all Nurgle models with big bellies, also as you can see on my Instagram or YouTube, with my Great Unclean one, I also put out some eyes on him, because I think it's always a funny thing to go over the miniature with your eye and you find something interesting. So if you just make some bruises, it's not that interesting. So be creative what you can do on it. An idea I have in mind, but I didn't accomplish today, but I will be at it a longer time till I hit it. I want to make some translucent boils. I would call it translucent, and I want to look like there are some maggots floating in the boil. I think I will do it on my biologicalist, however it's called, beautifier, on its backpack. So eventually with some resin or something. So yeah, that's the idea in mind. So I try to do some original things. So we are back again. I speed the video up in 3.5 because it's mostly back and forth like before. As you can see, I picked out some areas a little more. I did it in the bad way of the tutorial. I'm in a learning process as well, as I mentioned. So the next time I will do some eyes and some horns on the plate barrier so you can see it better. But you can see I picked out the areas with some Imperial Blue to get some deeper colors. I picked out the horns. In this case, as you see in the video, I picked out the teeth and the horns with black and finished the teeth again with some Ushabti bone. And then go back with white to highlight the face real hard. And also there it's going to reactivate the ink a little bit, so it gets a very smooth transition on it. It's very easy with this technique, and I never seen it before, so I'm really interested in your opinion, because I really never read about it or saw it. So for me it was kind of flashy thing to discover it. Here you can see I pick out the highlights. I redo the eyes with some red on the part and below, so it looks like kind of thick. I need to redo the eye again because I painted a little over, so I need to reblend, and you can see it's so easy and fast with this ink because it's reactivating some brush strokes, and you are at a point where you can say it's perfect, fine, and you can go on with your colorization of the miniature. So pick up Ushabti Bone again and again, so the teeth were also red before, so also there it will react again, so you need to block it out even more often, but it's not a problem. Yeah, as I mentioned, the eyes will be shown in another video. I'm sorry, I got it not on camera, so it doesn't work so good. Yeah, as you can see also here, sometimes I put it down and we can't see everything. So on this case, I pick out the pimples with some lime green from Vallejo. It's also funny with this ink technique because the pimples are starting to get very easy in a normal, in like a normal transition. It's on the top, it's very, very bright, and down below it starts to being red, so it looks very natural. As you can see here, the arm is a little darker. I used some greens and some purple mix out of Warlord purple and Imperial blue to block out some areas with in the shadows with it. And yeah, here you can see I used some blood for the blood gourd, for the wounds, for the eyes, so the blood drips out of the eyes like tears. Yeah, to pick out some interesting points, just to give them more character. I use the red on the mouse. It looks a little clownish and a little terrifying because he has bitten some guardsman or whatever. So it looks like a little freak. Yeah, and that's it. It's the most part done, and as you can see, you can come back and pick out some edges. Here I do the teeth again and the toes. Blend the arm with some ink of green off camera because I'm a pro. Next time I will show it also with this colors, but it's not so different. So it's a very easy and fast way. You can see I block out some details I found in the end. Pick out some highlights again, as I think it looks good. And yeah, it's a quite fast way to paint your models and give them kind of more character than the box art, I think. So yeah, I think that's it for now. I'm only painting the weapon. It's just some metal colors stippling on, then some black, some rust effects, and you're done. So there's nothing very special. So you can see I used Vallejo pigments. It's light rust in this case. So now I flip the camera. I should have done it before with the eyes, but it's just, as I said, it's just a learning process. Take an old brush, stippling on the still wet metal color, so it bound together. Come back with some black to give it a little more highlights and depthness. So, and that's it. You're done.